here's some of the top common, floating weeds we're going to start with, and I wanted you guys to sort of see these, visualize these, see if this is some of the problem you're facing. But some of the floating weeds that are issues are mosquito fern, duckweed's probably the most common, and watermeal is also very common. So these are ones that are going to cover the surface of your pond. And the first one here, mosquito fern, also known as azolla. This is, this can be green, but often this red color, and it can completely cover a pond system. But floats across on the surface, a floating weed, and can come in a lot of different colors. But basically here for non-irrigation water, Sonar is going to be the product of choice. It's going to give you long-term control. It's not going to grow back. That's going to be the ticket here for long-term non-irrigation water control of this floating weed. And if you have an irrigation system, combing is going to be a great product here with a little bit of sidekick. Can be a surfactant, really help you get in the plant. It's going to give you a good knockdown, but you still may need multiple applications in a year to keep that population suppressed. But no irrigation restrictions on combing. And I'll talk a little more on the product details at the end of the presentation here. But to keep going through here, duckweed, again, probably one of the most common ones we face. Love nutrients, fast growth rate. But again here for non-irrigation ponds, Sonar is going to be the hands down best product. Put it in the water. It's quite simple, and you're going to get long-term control with Sonar applications. And if you have an irrigation situation and can hold the water, Galleon's another product that's going to give you that long-term systemic control, but also combing can work on a reactive sort of knockdown basis. But again, it could grow right back, and you may need multiple applications with that. But no irrigation restrictions on Galleon if you keep below a certain rate, and certainly no irrigation restrictions with combing. Watermeal is another one. It's a little smaller than duckweed. It's more of a grainy feel to it. But again, we can treat it very similarly with non-irrigation systems. Sonar, again, is going to be a very effective product for control here. And we can combine Sonar with Galleon as well if it's a really tough watermeal site. But for irrigation systems, to give you that, quick knockdown, but, again, multiple applications likely needed, the combing product or combing plus a diquat product. And diquat at some rates can have an irrigation restriction of up to 2 or 3 days. So just keep an eye on that. If you can shut down irrigation for a couple days, that diquat can help a little bit in conjunction with the combing. And also nutrients seem to be a key driver for some of these floaters, just to help with their growth rate. So something like, a Foslock, a nutrient mitigation may help, keep some of these under control. Combing, again, this was about on every slide as well, but the great thing about combing, no irrigation restrictions. You can irrigate immediately after applying, even during application of combing. It's a neat chelated copper algicide, very specific to sticking to plants and getting control of these nuisance aquatic vegetation. Typical use rates right around 10 gallons per surface acre. This is assuming a 4-foot average depth. This is going to get control of a lot of your duckweed, watermeal, a lot of your submerged aquatic vegetation. So if you have an irrigation pond and weed issues and the water's moving in and out a lot, this combing can be a great sort of reactive way to knock down those weeds, get control, but you still may need a couple applications. It's not going to be the season-long systemic control that you get out of a Sonar or Galleon application. And tank mixing with some Latour Reward, a diquat product, can greatly help and increase the intensity of control, but oftentimes that diquat has a 2 to 3 day irrigation restriction. You need to shut that water down for a couple days if you put some diquat in there. So just take note of that. Sonar, you heard me mention it a lot when we were going through all the all the weeds up top, all the the duckweed and the floating weeds, and a lot of the submerged weeds, that Sonar was going to be the go-to product here. Sonar's been around a long time. We've done a lot of formulation advancements with it, but it's really the best aquatic herbicide available today, and can be very broad spectrum, and tailored to your specific site. But Sonar AS is a neat sort of original liquid formulation. If you prefer a pellet, the Sonar Q is going to be a great, easy to use no dust pellet formulation for you to get out there and really target your weeds and give you a long-term control. It's a systemic product. You control the weeds, and they're gone. They'll never come back, and you won't need multiple applications here, on a reactive basis with the sonar. So, with different formulations, we can use it in some irrigation ponds, without any issue. If we maintain, a low rate, which is all that's needed to control most of these weeds, we can still use it in irrigation ponds. But, some of the ones we need a higher rate on, like duckweed and watermeal, there may be some irrigation restrictions there. So just pay attention to the label there and get a hold of us if you have any questions. But, sonars can be applied in late fall and even early spring, and do its work, control the weeds, and be out of the water, dissipate before you even start irrigating, and still give you season-long weed control. So there are some things we can do with sonar, even in irrigation systems. But if you have a non-irrigation pond, this is definitely the go-to product. Put it out there, simple, easy, and season-long control. And here's just a example here, but can work on a lot of the tough floaters, the watermeal, the duckweed, the zola. Sonar is going to be the great choice for you, and again, that long-term choice. A lot of the reactive products like combing, knock it down, but you'll likely miss some, and it'll grow right back. But again, sonar is going to be the the best product here for a lot of the floating weeds and even a lot of the submerged ones.